welcome to Angela, Winston and Rudy. And folks, this episode is all about sports and athletics. And our guest contributors are Angela Clark, who will say a few words about her background because she has a wonderful background. And Minister Winston Bygrave, he too will say a few words because he is also illustrious. And my good friend Rudy Page, just as illustrious, he will say some words. So ladies first, please. Angela, the elevator introduction, please.
Okay, good evening, Dwayne and Mike, Winston and Rudy. It's a pleasure to be on this evening. As introductions go, my name is Angela Clark. I am the CEO of RAFA International Development Agency. I am also head of Provider Services, which is a local government role looking after adult health and social care. And I'm also a lay minister. So that's me in a nutshell. Do I say who I support? Maybe not, maybe a bit later.
That comes later.
We were talking about sports. So that's half today, Angela. What do you do in the rest of your day?
Oh, there you go. Have fun.
Okay, Winston, do you want to say a few brief words?
Yes, I'm Winston Bygraves. I'm currently now a Baptist minister at a church in northwest London, Hendon. But my previous background is that of teaching. I taught for over 25 years, rising to deputy head of a comprehensive school in northwest London. And as you've heard, I have 6 adult children and 13 grandchildren. And I did a lot of sports at school, but I must admit, as I was looking at this, I don't really watch much sport, but I'll say more about that later.
Hey, and Rudy, the elevator pitch intro as well, please, sir.
My name is Rudy Page, and I'm a policy implementation consultant and spent a lot of time working across a number of sectors that deal with healthcare systems, community economic development, international trade. So yeah, I'm very interested in the empowerment of our communities and particularly young people.
Thank you all three of you. And of course, this episode, as I've already said, is about sports and athletics. And Mike, do you want to come in and start with one of the 3 featured folks to highlight our community?
Unlike Angela, I'm not going to be so bashful. And we'll speak about a player that has played for my team, spent all his professional careers playing for one team. That's a great example of loyalty. 963 games.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
963 games.
Wow.
I think he holds the record of scoring in every single season that he played in. Who am I talking about?
It appears to be Manchester United being the top team of the decade.
There you go, brother. There you go. There you go. There you go. Mr. Ryan Giggs from the Valleys.
Absolutely amazing, because, you know, Mike, when we were doing the research on the folks to feature, I had no idea how well decorated Ryan Giggs was. And in fact, the phrase that comes to mind, he is known as the most highly decorated footballer, you know, that we have. And that was absolutely amazing. And I'll defer saying anything more for the time being, but he has so many records, it's unbelievable. So how do folks feel about Ryan Giggs in this capacity?
I think what's important about him, and because if you know about his background, comes from humble background, and the fact that football was that, you know, get out into the world and to be transformed into the person that he's become. He also says something about the mentoring and nurturing, because obviously Sir Alex Ferguson really took him under his wing and treated him as a son and kept him online, or in line, I should say, as a son as well, and he does attribute a lot of his success to that guidance from Sir Alex. So there's something about the importance of mentoring.
Angela, you looked as if you wanted to come in at one point.
Yeah, I was listening to what Rudy said about kind of the humble beginnings, because Ryan talked about his childhood and the fact that he was made to feel different as a child. And I must admit, for a long time, I didn't even know that that Ryan was from mixed heritage. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
And he obviously experienced some form of racism as a child. And but his way of describing it was that he was made to feel different as a child. And I think that was because he had his father was from Sierra Leone and his mother I think was English. I think that's how it was. Yeah. Very
Winston, did you want to join this conversation about Ryan Gigg as an example in this category?
I was just like Angela. I didn't know he was of mixed heritage, but as soon as you discover it, you realize it. But what's interesting that even of how deep racism is, that the kids recognized it.
Yeah.
And taunted him on that.
Let me come in on the back of this, because all of what folks have said is true, but my take from his profile is Ryan was born to a precocious father who was a top rugby player. And Ryan was exposed to rugby and football at a very early age. And that precocious nature of his father was very apparent in him from a very early age, because it wasn't just while he was playing at United that Ryan was setting records. He was setting records as a boy as well. And, the Young Professional Footballer Association Award, he won that twice. So in many respects, what is stand out for me for Ryan Giggs, he was born exceptional, and he found football as a wonderful channel for expressing that exceptionalism. So he was never going to be held back by petty racism from bigoted people, because, everybody wanted Ryan Gigg to be on their team. It was as simple as that, because he was so good. And for me, his standout record is proof of that. Let me just cite 2 or 3 of them. 13 Premier League winners' medals, 4 FA Cup winners' medals, 3 League Cup winners' medals, 2 UEFA Cup winners' medals, and a host of others. So Ryan Giggs wasn't just lucky or a victim of discrimination. He was just outstanding.
What does that say then about recognizing talent like that and nurturing it? Because yes, he had a natural talent, but it had to be nurtured and guided, not just let go and see what happens.
And that nurturing started from he was a boy. It wasn't just something that he turned 20 and someone said, "Oh, do you fancy a kickabout?" And "Oh, Manchester United will have you." He was doing exceptional stuff with football, under 10. It was that early that his talents were noticed.
And he was in that bunch of what they call the class of '92 that won so many youth FA Cups. And then put into the main team. And Alan Hansen famously said, "You can't win anything with kids." and then he changed his mind and says, "You can't win everything with kids."
Well, there are lots of village lawyers out there, and people, whatever comes to their mind. But again, focusing on Ryan's exceptionalism, he was interim manager for United as part of his career. So it wasn't just all about his feet. It was there in between the ears as well. And of course, to move from there to become the Welsh manager, is exceptional.
Mm.
So, as someone who's of our community, and we're highlighting folks in the sports and athletics area, he is a wonderful example of a dual heritage person who's made an enormous contribution across his career.
Yeah.
And of course, he earned an OBE as part of his exceptional contribution to football.
He's a part owner of a football club with his colleagues as well.
Yes, Salford City.
So he made the choice to play for Wales rather than England.
Yeah.
I don't know that if you look at it at the national level, he had a choice, because Ryan was Welsh. His mother was Welsh.
Yes.
And although he played a lot of his football in England,
No, he did qualify. He did qualify for England. He could have played
as a boy, but at the national level, you couldn't get away from the fact that he is Welsh, and that would be his place at the national level. I'm sure England would have done a lot better if they could get their hands on the national side. That wasn't on, not within the home nation setup we have in the UK anyway.
Yeah, they have a choice in terms of even if he had played for England at a young age, at a certain age, they then have to make that decision. All right, I'm going to play for England, or I'm going to play for Wales, and so on. It's one of those, anomalies within the game. But the thing about Ryan for me is that he's not like so many, because he came on board when the money was starting to flood into the Premier League. And so many people enjoyed it, and they've got nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Many of the people in his time are now declaring bankrupt or working as bricklayers in supermarkets or whatever it is. He's transitioned to being an entrepreneur with his colleagues in opening up, starting up Salford City. There's a lot of dissatisfaction when the Glazers came in, and so they formed another. And they came from the bottom tier of the English League to now, I think they're in League One.
Wow.
So that's quite an achievement. Quite an achievement.
A nice accolade about Ryan I came across when I was doing the research was it was said that he was the David Beckham of his generation before David Beckham became a real thing. That was how big his impact was. He could be really good at.
These examples are showing us that you don't need to be one-dimensional. Add some other things to your armory, that when you finish your track and field work or whatever it is, you've got something else you can fall upon equally as good as what you were doing.
So in this area, it feels to me that our community is awash with contributors from those three backgrounds in our community. And this country is better for it when you look at that tradition, which is continuing right now.
Thank you all for your contributions tonight. So we've got Rudy Page, passed away in Bygrave, Angela Clark. Okay, Angela, who's your team?
Fortunately, we can't see this.
We're going to cut you out of this program. Sorry.
We don't know who.
No, sorry. We're going to cut you out of this program.
Just so that everybody knows, Angela Clark supports Manchester United.
I don't. I support Liverpool, and I always have.
I just saw a red shirt.
And I'll tell you why.
I saw a red shirt.
Yeah, but
it's Liverpool.
it's Liverpool. I knew that. That's why she's going to go.
And I'll tell you why. It's because Kevin Keegan had a fantastic afro when I was young, and I loved it. There you go.
Wonderful.
And I've remained faithful ever since.
Wonderful.
That's good. So, Winston, who are you supporting these days?
Well, I live in Watford, so I automatically give my allegiance to Watford.
Oh.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. In the Premier League for a while.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, when I first came to this country, it was those trio, George Best and Bobby Charlton and who was the other one? Dennis Law. And so I've just kept going from there. You know, so yeah. And who are you then now, Rudy? Are you a North London man, Tottenham, or?
Well, even though I used to live in Finsbury Park, and I should literally 10 minutes walk from the old Highbury,
Mhm.
I was just so impressed in 1968 of George Best,
Mhm.
and that was it, Manchester United, because of George Best.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The boy from Ireland.
At
Yes.
school, that's what
Yeah.
we wanted to be.
Yeah.
Dribble, football, and all the rest. George Best.
7 goals against, the 6 goals against Northampton Town.
Northampton, that's right.
Yes, yes, back in the day. Mhm. And what about you, Dwayne, sir?
Well, I was going to be left field about this and say, well, I support Formula One because of Lewis Hamilton, but I think you're asking for a football team.
Yes, Dwayne.
Yes.
So, Ian Wright is responsible for this.
Yeah.
When he moved to Arsenal,
Mhm.
that's when my heart went to Arsenal.
Mhm.
Grew up in school loving everything Manchester United were doing. And my mates would hate me for that because I say, look, they're the best team in the land. That's why I support them. But I've learned to keep it a bit more local. So Arsenal is the one, and you know, for good or ill.
Yeah, yeah. No, Ian Wright is a good nomination, man. Ian Wright, yeah, he's the boy. He's the boy.
Again, look, he's gone on to a great career in radio,
Yeah,
TV.
Yeah.
That's the underlying lesson here.
Well, just to give a little bit of a nod to the next episode, we're going to be looking at our contributors in the voluntary and community sector. So maybe one or two of you might be with us next time when we record that. But again, some wonderful exemplars in that sector of how our community is distinguishing itself. Okay, thanks everybody.
All right, till next time.
Roundup, as always.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.